So I'm not sure to thank you or not. To kick you in the leg. Being brought up in New England as a good Yankee and a Protestant work ethic, work hard, get ahead, shoulder to the wheel.
How's it working?
Some kind of a guy. I had it all figured out. And then I met you. And now I don't have it figured out. But I haven't quite reached that place of belief. And I've heard you ask crowds many times, do you believe that you are vibration? Somehow find a way to believe in what you want. Somehow find a conviction.
It's where we started today, isn't it? That words don't teach. So we can talk about it till the cows come home.
Mm-hmm. Or you can listen to it till the cows come home.
Yeah. And until you've gotten hold of a little piece of something that you've deliberately applied and then seen personal results from, you've really got nothing.
Right.
But the good news is, law of attraction is so freakishly consistent that it's not possible for you to apply your interest and not get results that are trackable, discernible, replicatable, duplicatable, and teachable. And because there's no evidence to the contrary of this anywhere.
Right. Well, there is evidence to the contrary of it everywhere. And that's sort of the difficulty of trying.
There's no evidence to the contrary that you get what you think about. There's no evidence to the contrary of that you get what you think about. There are plenty of people that think about things other than what they want. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of evidence of not getting what they want, but it's because they're not thinking about what they want. They're thinking about the absence of what they want. So there's no evidence to the contrary that you get what you think about. The pipes that you lay bring you.
Right.
Yeah.
So the question is, but it seems like those pipes can be laid in any sort of direction, orientation.
Configuration.
And I can go to another seminar and get a different take on it all.
Yeah.
And to a certain extent, being sort of new to this is sort of all relatively new, and I'm going, all right, let's see what this is about. And part of this is because I want to come up here and sort of play with you a little bit and sort of catch that vibe, see if I could catch the vibe or to be goosed into the vortex, such as it speaks.
The vibe you catch here is a stubborn one.
I got one to match it.
An unrelenting, stubborn vibration that just never stops harping on the fact that law of attraction is the manager of all things, and that there are specific emotional states of being that indicate what those points of attraction are. We acknowledge that you can find yourself at a point of attraction, getting what you don't want and defying what you do want, and it just feels like you ought to be able to do something to break loose from it. And the reason that the whole tone of our conversation with you today is what it is because you just can't get around it. You have to find some way of breaking your emotion loose. You have to find some way of accomplishing a consistent enough vibration that you own the emotion around a subject that then lets in what you've been asking for. There are no alternatives. So every book that we've written, and there have been many, and every book has many processes, every process is about softening that. This might help you. To deliberately create or to indeliberately create, whether you're doing it on purpose or by default, there are 3 steps in the process. The first step is identify what is wanted. The second step is source delivers the vibrational version of it. When you ask, all the pathways are laid, all of the components are put in place, all of the probabilities become real, the vibrational version of it exists, but that doesn't satisfy our human friends. It could, but it doesn't, because they want the manifestation of it. Well, before you can get the manifestation of it, you have to find some way of matching the vibrational version of it. So you've asked, but when you ask for something, you're usually matching the opposite of what you want, because you're asking from a place of not having. It's like a question is a different vibration than the answer, and a problem is a different vibration of the solution. And yet you got to start with the question, and you often start with the problem in order to give birth to the answer or to give birth to the solution. So all that goes wrong with humans is that they give birth to all they want, but they hold themselves in vibrational defiance of it because they're so busy explaining how they got where they are or why they're not further along the way. And there's a little bit of that going on here. It's the sort of, I want it to be different than it is, and I want to explain why I think it isn't different than it is. And today we're discussing how that just keeps increasing the momentum of what you don't want.
You present, from someone new coming into this, you present a very logical system. All of the laws follow very, very logically, and the basic, the sort of very core belief in that, as all logical systems have, is the universe is a vibrational place, and we are all sort of part of that. But unless you believe that, unless you get to a point where you can really feel that at a gut level.
We started to say to you, we could call it, instead of a vibrational environment, we could call it an emotional environment. But then you got there first by saying, unless you feel it on a gut level.
Yeah.
Because it's your gut that lets you know what exactly you are in alignment with.
So if you don't have that on a gut level, and I hear you ask it.
But you do, because you can't not. You can deny the fact that you feel emotion, but you never stop feeling emotion. And if we can just harass you enough that you start noticing that you're feeling emotion, and then you start making the comparison between how that felt and how it turned out, and how that felt and how it turned out, and how that felt and then it turned out, pretty soon you've got some viable data.
Right.
You're proving to yourself. And then you can start replicating it on purpose.
Yeah, I've been able to sort of make that kind of linkage between how I'm feeling and the vibration that I have in the events that happen in my life. And I'll sit for an hour or two or even three, and I'll go through some of I'll listen to some of your recordings. I'll feel like I'm in a great vibe, and then I'm feeling really good, and I'll get up and I'll knock the coffee pot over, and I'll climb down the stairs and I'll break something. I'm like, well, how does that work when I'm feeling good, and all of a sudden it's like this cascade just picks right back up?
It's because there is some momentum going, and because you're complex in the fact that you think about many things, and you've got different vibrations going on different subjects, and so it takes a little while to smooth all of the bumps.
So there is sort of a time factor involved in this. I mean, if I've been practicing for 50 years, another method of work hard and life just sucks and I'm just waiting to die. And I mean, it's funny, but I have friends who have, as you get older, you've got close friends who sort of die. And I'm like, the luggy bastards, they're dying and I've got to sit back here and suffer. And I keep thinking, well, when I die, I'll have it all figured out. Or I'll have relief at least.
You will have relief, because
I guess I'd rather find that beforehand, but
it's really you've hit upon the whole reason we're here, because all of you will find that release of resistance once you make your transition.
At least I believe that I will, but some people don't believe that. You just go away.
We think that it's a fair thing and a logical thing from what we know about the laws of the universe also, that those like you who are contributing mightily to the expansion of the universe, that you should be able to experience the exhilaration and joy of what you've expanded the universe to while you're still here in this physical body. Yeah. But there are a lot of people who aren't going to figure this out, who are just sifting through the contrast and asking for things that they disallow themselves from having until they make their transition into non-physical, and then they will feel the relief of rejoining. Because when you have your death experience, you stop resistance and you become a vibrational match to that vortex version. We just don't think you should have to croak to become a match. And so that's why we keep talking as we do. But there's one thing. If we could convince you of this one thing, then everything that you know, because you know a lot, you're articulate, we know that you've been applying yourself, we know that you've been giving this deliberate attention. So if we could convince you of this one thing, things would shift for you rapidly. And that is that when you hold a cork under the water, it's your deliberate attention to it that is preventing it from doing what it naturally would do if you weren't involved in it. And when you let go of it, it bobs back to the surface. And it's that one understanding that if we could just zap you with something right now, we would. Because if you accept that if you don't do that thing you do that introduces resistance, resistance won't be there. And in the absence of resistance, you're up here in this vibration that then allows the universe to flow to you the things that you've been asking. If we could convince you that what you've been asking for is up there in that non-resistant vibration, and that if you weren't in a different vibration, you'd be receiving it, just like tuning your radio frequencies. But you're right. Tuning your frequencies is the reason that the clogged pipe analogy is such a easy one to hear, because if you hadn't been doing that thing you've been doing, if you hadn't been fashioning beliefs that are opposite of the way the laws of the universe work, it'll be easier for you to accept it. And so then a lot of people, their logic wants to say, well, if I was pure positive energy before I came into this body, then how did I get so far from being that pure positive energy? Why do I have to now work so hard to get back to it?
Yeah.
And we say it's because in not understanding the laws of the universe, but still participating and thinking, you've been generating thought patterns that law of attraction has been responding to. So you've been proving to yourself the very things that you believe. That's why people in religions are killing one another mightily always, because they are so sure they're right, because law of attraction keeps proving everyone right. Mm-hmm. Someone the other day said, I have a few teachers and I'm trying to meld together all of these teachers, and I have this one teacher who is helping me in many ways, but he does not believe in law of attraction. And we said the funny thing, not so funny, interesting thing, really interesting thing about that is that law of attraction is showing him that law of attraction isn't real.
Right.
Because he believes that law of attraction isn't real. And so he gathers around him all kinds of things that make him doubt that law of attraction is real.
Wait, so that's supposed to make things more confusing for me or less confusing for me, that story? Because I'm sort of more confused by it now.
It's supposed to make you more...
It's like you can sort of believe what you want to believe.
Yeah.
But then so I can believe that, that the universe is basically a good place. But
let's start in another place. What is a belief? A belief is a thought that you keep thinking. A belief is a vibration that gains momentum. So the truth of it is, when you get momentum going on anything, you'll pick up enough forcefulness that results will happen. So there are all kinds of things that people believe that they keep proving to themselves.
Right.
Esther argued with us about that in the beginning. She said, Abraham, it's true. And we said, there are a lot of things that are true that you don't want to keep active momentum going within you. So pick from the truths, those that you want to experience, and make those what are most active in your vibration, and that will be what makes up the most of your experience.
So I can sort of brainwash myself one way or the other, and this method seems more attractive because I'll be happy in the end.
And in the middle and then in the beginning.
But it still feels to me a little bit like I'm still being brainwashed, and I'm waiting for you to invite us all down to some South American country and drink some poison Kool-Aid, and then we're going to wind up dead, because they believed. I feel much better now. And reassured. But you sort of went through a whole thing of if there's an awful lot of ifs in there for getting to the core of this, to really getting to, because you can believe anything you want. And so and a belief is a thought you keep thinking, but hopefully it's a thought that you're thinking in accordance with what is. So,
well, where you stand in relationship to what you want is what the journey is. And what we are offering are perspectives that soften where you stand to make the journey between where you are and where you want to be logical, comfortable, not just possible, but easy. Mm. We have written several books, and all but the first one have been New York Times bestsellers. One of them was #1. And the book that Esther is receiving from us now is the book that she's most excited about. We're picking up on what you were saying about all of these words and all of these processes and so many people offering them, because Esther says now it is presented in a way that no one can be confused about it. But she said that about the last one and about the one before that and about the one before that and about the one before that, because the truth of it is that words don't teach. It's only your own life experience that teaches.